Welcome to the Monday Masterclass. We're actually starting tonight talking a little bit about Ayurveda and the mind. Now, this relates to how yoga looks at the mind as well, but remember, yoga is a treatment of Ayurveda, and it's also a whole philosophy, and you could just spend your whole life delving into the yoga philosophy and never know anything about Ayurveda. But Ayurveda and yoga are really sister sciences, and yoga is one of the treatments of Ayurveda. But we're going to talk about the nature of the mind today. And one of the things that happens here in the West is we are not taught about the mind, and we don't really understand, and so we suffer. And we're not taught about how to use the mind, how to deal with our emotions, how the meanings of the different states of the mind, which is wakeful state, dreaming, and then the deeper states of dreaming. And we're not taught how to deal with reason and feeling, and that thoughts come first, and then emotions. We just think that, oh, I feel this way, therefore the world needs to adjust itself for me because this is how I feel. But what we actually don't realize is that it's the mind that is thinking that way, because a whole other person could have a completely different thought process on the same event. So we suffer really from ignorance of the nature of the mind. I'm just going to read my notes. All the problems that we encounter in life are based ultimately on not knowing the nature of the mind and how it functions. It is a huge problem because if we don't understand the nature of a mind, it will automatically lead to suffering. And there's a lot of suffering going on. All psychological problems are nothing more than the wrong use of the mind. So the mind and its qualities, the mind is not good or bad. It's just that if you don't know how to use it, it could be used poorly for the wrong purposes. And the example that Dr. Frawley gives is, fire itself is not bad, but fire can burn you and hurt you if you don't use it properly. If you don't know what fire is and how to work with fire, it will hurt you. And that's like the mind. The mind can do the same thing. So the solution to all of our mental problems is to learn how to use the mind properly. And so that is what we're going to address. And Dr. Frawley is just like Iyengar and a lot of the other yoga philosophies. Jessica Char's who I studied. That's the tradition that I studied under. It's a tantric tradition. And one of the first steps in helping get a handle on the mind is to begin to observe it. You start to recognize your patterns. You start to recognize, oh, I think that same thing all the time, every day. It's consuming me. And you become the observer. We learn to develop the observer and the witness, or it's called the witness. And then we learn to see that the mind just has this content of thought, but thought itself really is nothing more than energy. That's really what it is. So we begin to observe the different forms of thought that we have and how they move in, the rate that they move in. For some people, they move in quickly, sporadically, intensely, slow. And that can vary as well. So that's the first thing you want to do, is learn to observe the mind, be the witness, and see it as more as like an object. There's the mind, there's the material of the mind, there's the thoughts of the mind. Oh, there's my mind going, crazy over that thought, or there's my mind not being able to think clearly or whatever. So that's the first thing. The second thing that you want to do when you're trying to understand the nature of the mind and how it functions is to see the mind as an instrument, that it's really a tool. And when you see it as a tool, then you can start to realize that, okay, how do I want to use this? Then you begin to decide, I'm going to decide to put my attention on this or that, give energy to this or that. Okay, so you be the witness, be the observer, and then you begin to use the mind as a tool, as an instrument. And then you use it to gain information, help you accomplish things, help you live your life, help you get things done. That's how you use the mind as an instrument. And then the second thing that you want to do is develop awareness. That means that yes, you are the observer. Yes, you use the mind as a tool, but you begin to have more distance and see the mind further back. And awareness, unlike the mind, it has no form and it functions, and it doesn't have like time or space that locks it down. So it's a way of not just being the witness, but it is a way of helping you to go beyond the mind and expand past that. So you move into a broader way of thinking, a broader way of being. Awareness is consciousness, and that's beyond the mental field. So that is your final thing that you would try to do, is instead of having your ordinary consciousness, which is the thoughts, and then being able to observe the thoughts, you would go beyond that, become that consciousness. Who is that observes the thought? What is that observes the thought? And that is where you go into that greater consciousness. So those are the ways that we can start to learn how to control over, not really control, it's not the right word, but how to use the mind properly so we don't suffer and we stop expecting the world to cater to us. And it's kind of weird because honestly, we have so much information out there now, like people talking about neural paths and all the information available that helps us to learn how to use the mind. And yet people are still so much stuck in their thinking and expecting others to cater to how they want things to be so that they can feel better. And they don't understand that it's the way they think that's making them feel that way. And they have to change the way they think first. That is how you heal. That is how you get better. That is how you are able to have joy, no matter what your situation in life is, because life is always up and down. Life is life. I always tell everybody, life is going to happen. You can't control the fact that something's going to happen in your life. Our loved ones are going to die. We're going to die. You know, loss happens, gains happen. That's just part of life. What happens if you're able to be in a place where I can be content? I can still remain happy no matter what's going on around me. And that is being able to go beyond the mind and knowing that you have a choice on how you want to look at things and how you choose to look at things. So that's it. I'm using my reference today is Ayurveda and the Mind, how to heal consciousness. And that's the book from Dr. David Frawley. If you've never read any of his books, all of them are just phenomenal. I love all of them. There's not one that I didn't thoroughly enjoy. He's pretty fantastic. Okay, so we're going to get going with our practice today. We are going to be working with the mind in our practice, which is great because we've been having a lot of Vata type of weather. It's cold, then the sun comes out and it kind of warms up. And then all of a sudden a snowstorm comes in. I think yesterday the snowstorm came in 3 or 4 times. It snowed, the sun came out, it was warm, beautiful. and then it snowed again. And then the sun came out, it was warm and beautiful, and then it snowed again. And that happened like 3 or 4 times. That's vata, that's change, up and down. Variable weather, it does havoc on our system. So we're going to really stabilize, move into the witness today, try to observe what are our normal ways of thinking, and then see how that affects our practice. Okay.